Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 130, and I have a special guest I want to introduce you to today. I've told you a lot about her, and today she's actually on my show. She's been following my program and my podcast for a year. She's lost 87 pounds and 87 pounds of crazy thinking. So stay tuned. Hi, everybody. I've got a great show for you today. Terri is on today. She's a fellow podcast listener. I've told you about her in the past podcast, and I told you she was going to be on, and today's the day. And what I want to do is I'd like to read you her letter first so that you can hear what she wrote me, and then we'll go straight to the interview. Hi, Dr. Deb. I've been listening to your podcast for over a year now, and have had great success in changing my thinking. Over the last year, I have lost 87 pounds, and I feel pretty amazing. I believe that I will probably lose about 20 more pounds before I get to where my body will naturally stay for the rest of my life. When I mentioned this to a close family member, they responded by shaking their head and saying, "You'll look terrible." This surprised me because this person is normally very supportive. By the way, I don't believe I will look terrible at all. I will look a lot different than they are used to seeing me. My question is how to deal with negative comments and change the way I think and respond to them, as I am not used to hearing them. Thank you for everything you've helped me accomplish this year. You've been with me every step of the way, and I'm grateful that I found you. Your podcast was the piece of the puzzle that I had been looking for many years. Okay, everybody, that's the letter. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Terri, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so happy to have you on here.
Hi, Dr. Deb. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, well, you wrote me a letter about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it touched my heart so much that I asked you if you wouldn't mind sharing your story with all of my listeners, because I think you will be a huge inspiration to the people who are listening. So for you, what I would love to hear from you first is, how did you find my podcast and what inspired you to look?
Well, I was looking I was hopeless at first when I started looking. I'd pretty much given up on losing weight anymore. I'd done it so many times for so many years, like many of your listeners.
That is true. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 49.
You're 49. And how long have you been looking and losing and gaining?
Yeah, I started in August of last year with this round, but I started Weight Watchers when I was in the 6th grade.
So like about 12 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. And you're 49 years old now.
Yes.
Sounds like my story.
So I've struggled for a long time. About 30 years of up and down, not really sticking with any one thing, but I've done a lot of the different programs. And then I guess for about the last decade, I realized that something was missing. Like the program, I can do any program and lose weight, but there was something missing. I knew I needed to change something in my mind, but I could never find it.
Okay.
Anywhere. So this time around, I had gone through a stressful few years, put on some weight. I didn't handle my stress very well at all. And so I pretty much given up on everything. And then I hit a number on the scale that I didn't like. And
what was it?
251.
251. Okay.
251. And as if that's the number that, I don't know what that number holds. I didn't like that. I guess all the rest of the numbers were fine, but 251 was just too much. But I was not sleeping. My back hurt, my hips hurt, my feet hurt. Mm-hmm. And with the stress of the few years before, I was not feeling good at all. And I knew that I had to do something. And so I thought, well, I'm going to start tracking my food. And I'm going to start looking on iTunes for a podcast, something that's going to help me. I know I need to change something in my head because I can lose weight on any program, but I can't keep it off. So there's something there that needs to be dealt with. And so that's when I went on iTunes and started looking for somebody to help me figure that out.
Uh-huh.
I found you, and it was like the last piece of the puzzle for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew something was missing. And when I got the information from you, from your podcast, and each week, trying to catch up because you had already been doing a number of podcasts for a while from last August. But I just thought, yes, I can do this. It's not that eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full was something new to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had looked at that many years ago, the tools weren't there to make it a reality.
You mean how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I had tried that a number of years ago, but the hunger scale I had never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional hunger scale I had never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And dealing with urges and being able to change your thinking, that wasn't even a concept that I even knew about, to change your thinking about food. So all of that is part of that piece of the puzzle I was missing, and it just fell into place for me.
Wow. That's amazing. So I guess what really interests me, because a lot of people talk about like, wow, I love your concept of eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, as if that's like somebody's never heard of before.
Yeah, it's very, well, there's so much contradiction out there with the programs that are out. And what really motivated me in the beginning was I got ticked off about it. I thought it should not be this difficult to lose weight and keep it off. People do it all the time. They do it from birth. Why can't I do this? There has to be something some piece of information that I don't have. And that motivated me. Being angry about it motivated me to do something about it.
Really? So you actually created a thought in your mind that created anger that inspired you
Yeah.
to find the right thing for you.
Yes.
Wow. Now that's interesting. So the thought probably was something like, and it may not be as much anger. So I'm just kind of questioning, is maybe it was more of a thought, if there's so many people out there that can do it, I know that I can do it too.
Yes. And I guess just being frustrated with not getting the information, this piece of information that I've been missing for, all my life, really, or at least, a good portion of it. I was just trying to figure out, why isn't this information out there? I've got to spend all this money on programs or food or weighing in and each week and paying this money. And it wasn't the money, but it was a thought, this isn't working for me.
So what do you think, Terri? Because tell everybody how much weight you've lost. And a lot of times I don't even talk about it, but I do think that it's pretty phenomenal what you've done. So just tell everybody how much weight you've lost.
I've lost just a little over 90 pounds.
90 pounds. Okay. So how did you, because I have a lot of clients and a lot of listeners, when they have a lot of weight to lose, they're already frustrated because they think it's way too much and they'll never do it. How did you handle that thought in your mind? How did you do that?
Well, I was 48 at the time, and I thought, Terri, I'm perimenopausal. I thought, this may take a while. I'm pretty much honest with myself about, this may take a few years for you to lose the weight, but you're going to have to stick with it. And I just made up my mind that there was no timetable to accomplish it by. I didn't really know where my end result would be. I just knew that this felt right and it was doable. And I knew that I had it in me to make it happen, but I wasn't putting any kind of limits on how long it was going to take me. I thought, I'm older. I may not lose this as quickly as when I was in my 20s. So I've just been patient with myself and practical about it, and just working all along, working on my mind, working on making the changes in my mind to help me stay the course with the entire thing, because this is how I'm going to eat for the rest of my life. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes me. It's going to come off when my body is, ready to shed it. So I just let myself off the hook as far as I've got to be this size by this time, and use that time throughout the months to really analyze, how things are going as I'm losing weight. How can I make changes, different things that I need to work on in my mind. Your podcast on dealing with urges was phenomenal to me because I thought, yeah, she gets it. She understands the urge is so strong to eat something. It's you can't resist it until you change your thinking. And so you helped give me a practical way to change my thinking and talk myself down from that urge and make it something that I do every day when I feel those urges.
Wow. So let me ask you this because I have a lot of people that say to me, what do I do when I have those urges as if there's something to do? How would you answer that?
Well, I love the way you talk to yourself. Uh, that too. Just say, it's okay, sweetheart. And I tell you, I've had urges recently for ice cream. I love ice cream, so I'll use that as an example. And just constant. And this has been probably a month ago when just for weeks, a couple of weeks, I would just crave a vanilla cone from, Dairy Queen. And I actually in the beginning made up my mind to avoid sugar and sweets. I did make that commitment to do that, not because I don't think you can lose weight eating sweets. It's just I knew that was my downfall, and I thought there's really no nutritional value in it. So I gave that up, pretty or try to avoid all of that. So having ice cream is not something that I do, but I kept craving it. And so I just would talk to myself and I thought, Terry, if you want ice cream, you're going to have to be hungry for it, first of all. But this is something that you have said that you're trying to avoid and you haven't really missed it. So if you want the ice cream and you're hungry for it, you go ahead and have it. And there has never been a time when I have had that situation actually work out for me to have ice cream because I eat dinner, I'm full. There's no reason to eat ice cream if I'm not hungry. And so it's just talking to myself about this is the commitment that you made. If you really want ice cream, have it, but you're going to have to find a time when you're really hungry. And I just haven't found the time for that. And I don't know that that situation will ever come up for me, but I'm open to eating, ice cream if it ever, pans out for me. I don't know. Just don't think it is. It doesn't mean that much to me anymore. But I just had to deal with that urge in a way that I wasn't denying myself that, but I just wanted the practicality of it is that the situation's not going to probably come up for me. I'm going to eat real food before I eat ice cream.
Wow. Okay. So I think what you're saying, and I think this is really huge because cravings and the way I describe them is it's not usually ever from physical hunger. So I love the way that you talk to yourself to tell yourself, sweetheart, you're not hungry. If you're ever hungry and you want ice cream, we'll eat it. I just love that because you're really never hungry for ice cream. You just emotionally crave it.
Yes, yes, I believe that's the truth there, and so just hearing how you talk to yourself helped me to get those conversations in my mind to be able to talk to myself. Just little phrases to get me started on how to talk to myself when I'm feeling the urge to overeat or clean my plate or get ice cream.
So tell me how you talk to yourself when you want to clean your plate.
That happens more often than the ice cream because I eat out a lot. I'm on the road. I'm away from home during the week. And so
So you travel a lot.
I travel to where I work and I stay in this town until for the week. So my husband and I eat out a lot through the week. And so, the portions are so big in restaurants. I'm trying to get the smallest portion, but I just have to be very present when I'm eating and check in all the time. I mean, as you're eating, enjoying being with my husband, conversation with him, enjoying the food. I want to enjoy the food that I eat. I'm not in love with it anymore. I really had to kind of break up with food.
I love that. I had to break it up with food.
In the beginning, I wrote a letter to food.
You did?
I did. I didn't keep it. I just put it all out about, food didn't ask for me to love it. I just did. And it's just a neutral thing. And so over this last year, it's been really interesting to watch the decline of the dependence on food or my love of food all of the time. It just isn't that important to me anymore. And I don't, if you had asked me last year before I started, I would have laughed that food wasn't important, because it was very important to me. It helped me deal with stress, temporarily. But now it's just something that I have to do. I do want to enjoy the food that I eat. I just don't place a lot of importance on it. I either box it up, have it for lunch the next day, or if it's really not that I didn't enjoy it that much, I just leave it on the plate and don't worry about it.
Wow. So you don't tell yourself you're wasting food and what a terrible person you are and all the people that are starving?
Well, that always comes into your mind, but I usually ignore that.
How do you ignore it? Tell me what you do.
Because it's not true. There's nobody that's going to benefit from the little bit of food that I've left on my plate, including me. I'm not going to benefit from eating it, but I've tried to stop eating, a bite or two before I normally would. I think you had that in one of your podcasts.
I did.
A bite before. And, the feeling that I have, this is what motivates me most of all, is the feeling that I have after I'm through eating and I'm not stuffed. I hate that feeling now. And that used to be all that I felt, was full all the time and uncomfortable and hard to breathe. And I feel light when I leave the table, and I can go walking, or I can go shopping or do whatever. And I don't feel just bogged down with this heaviness in me. And I really love that feeling.
Okay. So how did you go from loving the fullness, because there is a lot of thoughts that create that, how full you want to be. I have a lot of people that talk about how they want to be full. They want that fullness, because then they're not feeling anything but the fullness. So how did you go from the physiological feeling of that really strong fullness where you're not feeling anything to that lightness in your physiological being and having a lot of room to fill up with food and not wanting to fill it up?
I don't know that I loved being full before. When you get away from the table, I just felt miserable.
But you did it.
But I did it.
Right. So what I mean by that is that there is something loving. I mean, there is something you're loving about that, or you wouldn't be doing it. Because there's a lot of people that when they're done and they've done it, they feel terrible about themselves and all of that, but they still do it. And it's the doing it that I'm talking about. The something that keeps motivating you to overfill yourself.
Well, I still have that feeling sometime when I'm eating really good and I don't want to stop. And I know the feeling of being overly full, and I know the feeling that I feel when I have eaten what I needed to be satisfied and I stop. And it was a gradual process. I didn't start out like that, but through this last year, I gradually realized, hey, I really like this feeling better. And I don't want to go back to that. I felt miserable overeating. And even if I eat a few extra bites more than what I need, I don't feel as good. So that feeling that I have when I look at my plate and I think I've got, maybe I should finish a few more bites, it's checking in with my body again and knowing that if I eat a few more bites, I'm not going to feel as good as I do right now. And I don't know, it's just a decision that I make based on what I've experienced through this last year. And it's been a very gradual thing because in the beginning, I compared to what I'm eating now, I was eating more than I probably should have in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been a gradual realization through this last year of eat with each meal. It's an experiment
Mm-hmm.
of of how I'm thinking about food, keeping my mind in the right place with my thinking about food. I don't want to put that importance on food anymore. And if I want, I tell myself a lot of times, Terry, if you want more of this, take this home and have it for lunch tomorrow. Or you can get this again. You know, you can order this again anytime. You can come back tomorrow for dinner if you want and order it again if you liked it that much. It's not, I don't feel like I have to clean my plate and eat all of that. And it's just a gradual realization of not needing unnecessary food.
I love what you're talking about. And I think this can be helpful to a lot of people too, because a lot of people, clients that I actually work with myself, nobody understands gradual. Everybody like wants to, like whatever it is or whatever tool I'm teaching, they want to have it in that moment. They think they should have it.
Yes.
So how did you handle that with yourself? Like when you learned a tool from my podcast, any of these things that you're talking about, how did you stop making food so important? Like this is gradual, right? Because food was very important. Now you're saying, well, food's really not that important. So that had to be gradual. And the whole idea you're saying is that you ate more in the beginning, which I'm assuming you mean is that maybe you were eating beyond a +2 in the beginning, but not as much as maybe you were.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So how did you handle that when you knew you were going beyond a +2?
You know, every meal was an opportunity to try something new, a new way of thinking about food.
Wow. I love that. Every meal was an opportunity. I love that. Every meal was an opportunity. Go on.
I still feel that way. To really step back and play detective and analyze. If you're not getting the results that you want, and I went through a few months earlier this year in February and March where I wasn't losing as quickly as I thought I had been previously. And I didn't get worried about it or worked up about it. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back and look at my food journals and see what I was eating in August as compared to what I'm eating now, and kind of analyze that and see if maybe I've started, eating different foods that aren't really fueling me. And that's pretty much what it was. I was eating a lot more crackers, a lot more bread. I wasn't overeating it, but it didn't seem to fuel me as long as, other types of food. And so just stepping back and taking a look at what you're doing without being hard on yourself, and making changes that you need to make. See, if someone had told me, Terry, you need to stop eating bread and crackers and all that stuff, it doesn't mean anything to me. But when I started getting hungrier and I was hungry all the time, I had to take a look to see why I was hungry all the time. And when I found out that I had changed my eating, the foods that I was eating, I realized, crackers and breads don't fuel me as long as proteins and other foods. And so it's not that I'm going to cut breads and crackers out, but I need to be aware of that. That is what happens when I eat too much of that. And so you have to make a decision when you sit down to eat. What am I going to eat to fuel me? And that's just part of figuring this whole thing out, because every individual person has got to figure it out for themselves. And it doesn't all have to be the same for every one person. You kind of have to figure out what you can live with too. I mean, some people do this with eating sweets, and that's just something that I chose to avoid. But you just have to be aware of what it's doing to your body. And that made it real to me when I experienced it, instead of someone telling me that I shouldn't eat that, but I experienced in my own body what it was doing to me. And then I made a decision about how I'm going to eat based on that information.
What I'm hearing from you, and this is really important because I've been talking a lot about the scale lately and people having all kinds of problems about these numbers. And what I'm hearing from you is that you had a few months where the scale wasn't doing what you wanted it to do, for all practical. When we just talk about the scale, it wasn't doing what you wanted, correct?
Right. And that, made up my mind in the beginning that I may not be losing as fast as I used to. So I'd already set myself up to not be overly concerned or worried about it if I wasn't losing, but to just look at it from as an analysis of what I was doing and figure out from there. So yeah, you're right.
But I love the way that you're thinking about it because all you're saying is that it's a tool for analysis. So if it's not doing what you think it could or should be doing, you can look at the facts, what you're eating, when you're eating, what your hunger scale looks like, the reason for food journals to begin with. I love how you use them. And then you get to decide if there's something that you want to change, because then you're just using your mind in a way that can really help you, as opposed to your mind freaking out, saying it's not working. Because I hear this all the time. It's not working. And as soon as you have that thought that it's not working, you make it not work.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bad cycle to get into.
It's a bad thought to think.
Yes.
Yeah. And I imagine that probably at some points of time in your life, those thoughts came around and you probably followed them.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Many
times. And now the way that you talk, I mean, like, I just want everybody as they're listening to you, because you sound to me like, wow. You say everything that you say, it's like, this is everything I teach. Everything I teach. That's how you're talking. And it's like, whoa. I mean, it's so exciting for me because I have never met you ever. This is the first time I've ever talked to you.
Yes.
And I've put all these teachings out, and it is like you followed everything that I taught. And what's coming out of you is just you from changing your own mind and learning new tools. And now it's yours.
Yes, I've made it mine, but I feel like you and I have been friends for a year because you have been with me this entire journey. And it just every week listening to your podcast, you'd be talking about something that I was dealing with, whether it was urges or exercise or, anything. Using the model was a phenomenal tool for me as well. Those are the main things that have really helped me. And like I say, you can try to do all of it at once, but I just week by week, try something new. And that was just the piece of the puzzle. And when I realized that's what it was, I grabbed hold of it and just didn't let it go.
I'm like sitting here taking notes on you. It's like, oh my gosh, my gosh. Okay. So let me ask you this. In your letter, you wrote to me, because you have already, I think, given people a lot of inspiration for how you've been managing your own mind, and you have been doing it brilliantly from my own perspective. And I know that probably where you started is probably where most people are starting. And I know it's where I started. And now that you are where you are and you are managing your mind, and you certainly have an awareness, I think you've become an observer of yourself for sure. Would you say that that's correct?
Yes, I believe so. I've become better and better at observing myself, my thoughts, analyzing the things that I think and whether they're true or not. And yes, definitely have become an observer.
Yeah. And has this affected other areas of your life too?
It has. My thinking about work, thinking about relationships, I really haven't gotten into a lot more than the weight loss, but I see where I can apply that stuff, apply the model and a lot of that changing your thinking in different areas of your life. That's one area I would like to explore more, is changing your thinking about other aspects of your life. But I have seen it help me with dealing with stress, and because I tend to get a little anxious and stressed out too much, and I've gotten better at dealing with those things by thinking differently about it.
Absolutely, because I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, would be my guess. Because I can't see how, if you know how to manage your thinking, you wouldn't just manage it around food.
No, it goes out into other areas.
Of course it does. You're not. I don't even think you're aware of it.
Probably not.
I don't
Probably.
think so. But this is the thing that I want to bring up about this, because in your letter, you wrote about because you've lost so much weight that sometimes you get negative comments from people about your weight. So I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about that, because that was your letter that you wrote to me, is what do you do when people have negative comments? And so if you want to go into that a little bit, that would be great. And maybe I'll coach you a little bit through it, but a lot of people have this exact same issue, but it's also just thoughts and mindsets too. So it's a perfect thing for me to talk to you about, and at the same time for other people to listen to. So just tell us a little bit about with your weight loss. And I forgot who it was with, but maybe you can just tell us the story a little bit.
Through this whole time, I've had a lot of encouragement, a lot of support. And now that I'm getting down to the point where I'm probably going to land somewhere in the next 15 or 20 pounds, is what I'm thinking. I've never been here before, so it's all kind of new. So I'm just trying to listen to what my body's telling me. But I've had a lot of support. And when I told, I'm going to tell my mom, but anyway, I told her I was going to lose probably another 20 pounds. And she said, "Oh, you're going to look terrible." And I was a little shocked. I thought, no, I'm not. I'm not going to look terrible. But it concerned me. And I've had a number of people say, I've just had some strange questions. I don't know if anybody else has had them before, but
Oh, I think everybody that's listening to this that's lost a lot of weight has had this. I don't think this is unusual. So just keep talking.
I've had people that have asked me, "Oh, you look great. You've lost weight. Was it intentional?" And I'm not sure how to answer that question. Yes, it's intentional. I guess they're wondering if I was sick. But anyway, I just laugh and say, yes, it was very intentional. But I've talked with my mom. I think my mom is used to seeing me larger all of my life, struggling with that. I don't think I've lost this much weight ever, and ever been at this size ever. And I think she was just worried. She's just concerned. And, I've talked to her about that since I wrote the letter, but it was just a shock to me. I wasn't sure how to respond to that at first. And I think you just have to maybe put yourself in their shoes for a little bit, and maybe think about what they're thinking of. Is really, she was just concerned about me losing too much weight. But I've assured her that I'm good. I'm good. Not to worry. But I just was wondering how to handle not just about negative comments about weight, but just negative comments.
Well, I think it's a really good way to look at it because you know the model.
Right.
Right. So when somebody says to you, like if your mom says, "Oh, if you lose more weight, you're going to look terrible."
Yes.
Okay. That's a circumstance, right? We're just going through our model.
Yes.
Okay. So that can't make you feel anything.
Right.
Right? Because it's just a fact. It's just what she said. And all facts and circumstances are neutral. You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. So the feeling that you had was shocked, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason that you felt shocked isn't because your mom said you're going to look terrible if you lose more weight. Why did you feel shocked?
Probably because, gosh, that's a hard question. Because I value her opinion, and she's been supportive of me this entire time. I was shocked because, I don't know. I was shocked because I didn't want her to think I would look terrible.
Okay, so that's exactly. I didn't want her to think I looked terrible. Right. So the reason that you were shocked is because what you thought about what she said to you.
Yes.
Okay. And you tell me how you can control somebody else's thinking.
You can't.
Exactly. So what you said to me is that what I started doing is just going back to why she might have done that. Like, what if it didn't have anything to do with me per se? Right. And the reason is it really doesn't have anything to do with you because she's got her own model. Her thoughts come from her head, not from you.
That's
so
right.
The idea of you saying, well, maybe she's worried about me, but she loves me, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, it's got nothing to do with you. It's her head. She's going to have to deal with that. You can't help her feel better about you.
Okay.
which also says about anybody that says anything to you, which are all just circumstances or facts. They're all neutral, no matter what they say. And a negative comment, they said a negative comment all by itself is a thought.
This is really hard
I
to
didn't say
think.
it was easy.
I know you didn't. It's really hard because you for so long I mean, I take things personally, and when people say things, and it's hard to separate that out.
You know what? This is why I'm talking to you right now and why I really love talking to you, because you've done so much of this work already and you're just at a different level with different things.
Okay.
But it's the same type of management that you've been doing around everything else. It's you've just decided when there's too much food on your plate and you can't eat it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're too full. You've just changed your thinking, which made you feel totally different.
Yes.
Circumstance was the same.
Yes.
There's just all that food on your plate. One thought was, I have to eat it all. It's so delicious. And then you change the thought to, why would I do more than what my body needs? And I'm not doing myself a favor. Right? But you really believe the new thought.
Yes, I do.
Right. So right now, the new awareness is the thoughts that you think when people say things to you.
Right.
Is the only thing you have to deal with are your own thoughts about it, not what people say. Because people are going to do and say whatever they want whenever they want. Have you noticed?
Yes, I have noticed that.
Yes. So your feelings are never going to come from them. So the way that you deal with negative comments is you deal with your own thoughts about them.
That's really helpful. Like I said before, I struggle with separating that out, how other people think about me.
Correct.
I take it on personally, and I need to start thinking about my thoughts, not theirs.
Correct. And just the thought that you have is that I take it on personally.
Yes.
Is a thought to look at, because as long as you think that, you will. And the beauty of this, Terri, is that there are a million people right now listening to this that go, I do that too. We all think other people can affect our feelings. And they can't. It's impossible, according to the model.
That is something that is going to take some work.
You know what? Everything takes work when you're managing your own mind. But tell me how worth it has been to do the work that you've done so far on managing your mind.
Oh, it has been well worth it. I'm so happy and excited, and I've not been in this place before where I feel so confident and I trust myself to make the best decisions and to think the best of myself and my intentions. I've never been in that place before where everything has fallen into place. I have the right information and I'm doing the work that I need to do in order to make this forever. And I've never, at this point in prior programs, I think I would have felt, well, I know I would have felt worry already. How am I going to maintain this? How am I going to keep this off?
Mm-hmm.
You know, all that would have been already in my mind at this point.
And so what do you say to yourself now?
Well, on other programs, you have to do your maintenance program and you have to figure out how much to eat for maintenance. With this, you just keep doing what you're doing. There's no plan that I have to come up with to do, to maintain this weight. I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. And that is the real beauty of it, is the freedom of not having to worry about any of that. You've already done the work. You've already learned how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're satisfied. There's nothing that you need to change with that. And that's why I know that I'm not going to ever have to lose weight again, is because there's nothing different that I need to do here. The piece of the puzzle is in. I've figured it out. And it's not that I don't have anything else new to learn, because I certainly do. But I have the confidence now that what I'm doing is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And it's going to be so great. It's not going to be a burden for me to try to figure out every month how to keep the weight off. This is it.
Terri, there is
Yes.
nothing more I could possibly say to you after that. Other than thank you for being on this podcast and sharing so much of yourself. And I hope that you've been an inspiration for others. You have absolutely been an inspiration for me. And you and what you've said today motivate me to keep doing these podcasts. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, please don't stop doing podcasts, Dr. Deb. We need you. And I just appreciate you walking with me in this journey, because you have been what I needed. You've been that answer that I needed in order to accomplish this. And I just want to thank you for being there.
Thank you, Terri. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, what did I tell you? Terri is amazing. And honestly, everything that comes out of her mouth, I feel like it was a podcast that I taught. So for me, it was so inspirational and so motivational to hear her talk, because, I've been doing these podcasts for over 2 years. And boy, when I get letters like this and talk to people like this, I am so on fire to do more of these for sure, because this is amazing. She is amazing. But, one of the things that I think was really important that she pointed out was that this was gradual. And that's what I want all of you to see. My clients, my listeners, is that you don't just start using these tools and bam, you're perfect. You start using these tools and you start becoming more aware. And gradually, you continue to change your thinking, you continue to change your feelings, and you continue to change your actions around food. But it's not like it happens overnight. I think a lot of you expect so much out of yourself, and if you don't get it exactly perfect the first time, you give up. Terri is a perfect example of that. She never gave up on herself. She kept talking to herself and learning how to talk to herself kindly. Did you hear how she talked about that? That she used some of the things that I use to talk to myself, like calling myself sweetheart. I could tell that she talks to herself that way all the time. She's learned self-compassion. She's showing you how much it has helped her. I want you to just let that sink in. And boy, didn't you love the way she ended that podcast with saying how she has confidence in herself and that she trusts herself now, and that she knows that this is the last time that she will ever do this again, because what she's been doing is what she's just going to continue to do. And she knows that she can do that without a doubt. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And if any of you feel like you cannot do this on your own, I want you to book a free mini session with me, because I can help you if you need it. Now, Terri's a perfect example of doing it on her own, and there are many people that do it on their own, but there are also many people who need help. If you're one of those people who needs help, don't make it a negative thing. Just get help. You can book a free mini session with me by going to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and you can have 30 minutes of my time. And I have a beautiful individual program. If I think you're a good fit for it, I will be happy to tell you about it. So until next time, as Terri so eloquently put in this interview, in her own words, but I'm going to say it in my own words, is, sweetheart, be very, very, very kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast with my wife, Dr. Deborah. I've enjoyed working with her and living with her. That's right, we work and live together for 40 years, more than 40 years. It's amazing how time flies. And it's been like a little tree growing in the yard, and now it's a big tree, our love. So I would like to invite you to correspond with Dr. Deborah. Go to iTunes, drdebbutler.com/iTunes, and you can review the show, and you can even give some helpful suggestions on what you would like to talk about in the future to accomplish your mindfulness and your journey into mindfulness. Thank you.